That's great. That's great.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 13 of the Tell Me Something Great podcast. I am your host, Justin Yates. How's it going? What's going on? Tell me something great. How was your week? You know, it seems like this week has been weird for everybody. Every friend, family member, and fan I talk to is just having a very crazy week, and I have too. I hope your week is doing better than a few of the people I've spoken to. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I've been in Grind City again this entire week, so I don't have too much to report on. Also, I need to be really honest with you guys and let you know my depression has gotten so bad that I've just completely broken down this week, and I can't focus on anything. And it's more stuff outside of music in my personal life than anything, and it's really hard to cope every day, and I'm finding it harder and harder. On the last podcast, I spoke to you guys about going to see a therapist, and I talked to her this week as well. And for those that don't know, I suffer from a list of conditions. I have severe anger issues. I've been diagnosed with, quote, extreme, quote, depression, hyperactive ADHD. I've showed signs of self-abuse to signs of anorexia. The list just goes on. And what's interesting is that I've only spoken to this therapist a few times, but she also mentioned to me, similar to the previous therapist I spoke to, that I may have borderline personality disorder, which I'm not going to pretend to tell you what that is. Let's just look it up really quick. Borderline personality disorder. Borderline personality disorder is a mental health disorder that impacts the way you think and feel about yourself and others, causing problems functioning in everyday life. It includes self-image issues, difficulty managing emotions and behavior, and a pattern of unstable relationships. That just didn't make me feel good reading that. Let's see what else we can find. What is borderline personality disorder? With borderline personality disorder, you have an intense fear of abandonment or instability, and you may have difficulty tolerating being alone. Yet inappropriate anger, impulsiveness, and frequent mood swings may push others away, even though you want to have loving and lasting relationships. Borderline personality disorder usually begins by early adulthood. These conditions seem to worsen in young adulthood and may gradually get better with age. Yeah, my problems are getting worse. So a lot of these symptoms, though, I think the reason that they think I have this is because a lot of the symptoms I have are very similar to the symptoms of someone who has borderline personality disorder. See, for me, whenever anyone mentions this, I always think of like multiple personality disorders instead of borderline personality disorders, which there's a big difference between the two. I'm trying to research more on the internet right now about borderline personality disorder versus multiple personality disorder, and there are a lot of big words I can't pronounce, but basically they're saying that they do have some similarities. It's very different in many ways. So the therapist advised that I do a few things, which is, once again, look into some form of disability. She thinks it's obvious that that's something I can benefit from, and that I should have been on a long time ago. But she also suggests to me something called dialectic behavior therapy, which is known as DBT. Dialectic behavior therapy is a structured outpatient treatment developed by some lady for the treatments of borderline personality disorder. Dialectic behavior therapy is based on cognitive behavioral principles and is currently the only empirically supported treatment for BPD. You know, throughout my pursuits on mental health, I've seen over 30 different psychologists and psychiatrists and different doctors, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not really interested in taking some sort of course trying to convince me of changing my cognitive behavioral principles. I've done that a few times, and it's very difficult, but I don't know how to say it. It's not that I'm fully opposed to it. I don't want to live with the problems that I'm having. I'd like to be able to take care of them mentally in a better way than I have been. But I know this is going to sound like I know everything or I have all the answers. And I know that I don't. But I'm just really reluctant on thinking that there's some sort of class I can take that's going to teach me something I haven't already taught myself. I've definitely dug my own grave right now, and I'm laying in it. And a lot of this is my own choice, and I can make cognitive choices to change everything, but it's going to be difficult. And when I mean difficult, I mean it may make me homeless. So it's a lot to think about. I'm blessed. I'm able to have these resources to be able to talk to somebody. I'm very blessed to be able to have some sort of game plan, even if I am reluctant. I despite my monotone delivery, I am very excited about that. I just, I don't know. It's hard to think right now. Like I said, it's I'm having trouble coping with things day to day, and I don't know. Even thinking right now, trying to put my words into a. I can't even speak. I'm trying to put my words into an easy, understandable package for you guys, and I'm having problems doing that. Regardless, we do have some good news though. As of this morning, I received the final prop renders for a music video I'm working on, and I'm pretty happy. If you guys have been listening to previous episodes, you know that I am working on music right now. And I'm also working on some music videos and some other fun stuff. And one of the music videos has to do with a prop. And I've been speaking to a woman in Bulgaria. And I've been really nervous about it because of the language barrier. But based on everything I'm seeing, I am pretty thrilled. I don't want to disclose what I'm working on yet because I think this will be a really nice surprise for you guys. But I do want to say this. I have 2 pending music videos that I'm working on right now, and one of them's on hold while this one is progressing. And what's funny is the second one kind of came to fruition the same way that the music did. I'm just having fun. I'm not trying to overthink it. I'm just trying to come up with a fun idea that I think would be fun and pushing it forward. And it's funny because just like the music, I didn't think that it would snowball into what it's snowballed into. But even with this prop idea, I didn't think I'd be able to pull this off, and it actually looks like it's happening. And that's really exciting. This is going to be great. It's going to be a lot of fun. Fortunately and unfortunately, I still have a few more props I need to get together, and I'm trying to contact a few different people right now. But there's a lot of moving parts, so this idea won't be done for a while, but it's moving along, which is nice. You know, I wanted to save this for a future episode, but I think it's fitting to talk about it now. So the name of this podcast is the Tell Me Something Great podcast. And as I mentioned before, that saying has become like a war cry. It's become a very important saying in my life. And it's not because it proposes the opportunity for others to find greatness in their life. But for me personally, it's that I'm not feeling much great things lately. And I know myself, and that kind of scares me because I have been able to create like a circle and create an environment that's healthy and conducive to everything I'm doing, and I can feel it all crumbling apart. And, you know, the last song on this batch of music is coincidentally called Tell Me Something Great. And the song tackles with this. It tackles with the fact that I can't cope with what's going on, and the fact that I need I need something great. I need something to hold on to. I feel as a man, as an individual, that purpose and meaning, goals, all these things are significant. And when you don't have them to hold on to, you don't have that rock, you feel very lost and you can't see the greatness in life. And I feel that way lately a lot. And this music is helping. I'm using it to kind of channel some of these things as I've done before. But with this last song, Tell Me Something Great, it's really funny. It's really, really funny to me because my approach for all of this time around is just doing what feels right. And with Tell Me Something Great, I got to tell you this backstory because it's so funny. I was either in a Zoom call or I was talking to Dustin via Messenger, just sending videos and audio messages back and forth. And we were talking one day about how creating songs can be a challenge in this day and age when you're not making dance music and pop music. Song structure can be a pain in the neck, and when you're basing everything around the acoustic guitar, you have to be selective with some of your choices. Basically, I said to him, I just need to write some stupid, catchy, twangy hook. And that's what I should probably base a whole song around that. I mean, that's what so many songs are doing. And we laughed about it. It wasn't like a big thing. It was just like a passing thing. But what was funny is that when I was talking about it, I just randomly played some riff on the guitar and recorded it and sent it to him and laughed about it because it was very, I don't know, corny kind of. And it had this really obvious twang to it. I was trying to be as, I don't know, cliche as possible maybe with my writing just for the sake of a joke. What's funny is that the joke really made me laugh, but I kept playing the riff over and over and over again, and I started to really enjoy it. And I was like, there's something here. And it's funny to me that the song came out of a joke, came out of just trying to have fun, trying to just do something great and just joking around with a buddy. And I felt like, okay, this is the riff, It came out of something great. I got to keep pushing into that. I know that might not make sense. I'm trying to encapsulate the, mental connection that a musician has with the importance of meaning and their writing and how writing is and just all these different points. It's difficult, but long story long, again, I took that riff and made something out of it. And the third song on this batch of music will be called Tell Me Something Great. There's a good chance that this whole batch of music will be under that name too, but that's still up for debate right now. Now, at this point, you're thinking, hey, Justin, you've told us all the names of the songs. What else is there to tell? And let me tell you, friends, there is a lot more to tell. It's not just 3 acoustic songs, but you're going to have to stay tuned because I don't want to talk about it right now. But I will soon. And let me tell you that I'm getting all my ducks in a row, and this is going to be a good time. I'm going to have a lot of fun making this. I'm going to have a lot of fun showing you guys what I'm working on. I hope that your response for it will be as awesome as I think it will be, because I'm doing my best over here and it's getting me excited. And usually when that happens, I know that I'm onto something good. So the ongoing topic of the box is still going on, but not much to update this week other than I've made a couple decisions. The first decision is that I'm going to take on some of this assembly and packaging myself. Not only will this save an immense amount of money, I'm really interested in wanting to get into this packaging avenue. I think it would be a lot of fun. But overall, it's going to save a decent amount of money. Some of this stuff is going to be one-of-a-kind, handmade things. Very personal, very DIY. And I've always been reluctant to do DIY stuff because I'm all thumbs. But I think it's time. I think you guys will like it a lot more because it will be made with my blood, sweat, and tears more than just using my blood, sweat, and tears to make money to purchase things, if you understand what I mean. So this week has been a lot of research, trying to find what materials I'll need, doing some ordering, just trying to get everything set up and ready. I've got a lot of work I need to do in Photoshop, but as I mentioned, my head is just not in the game right now. So I'm doing what I can here or there, trying to stay positive. As far as the collection goes, since I've been a little out of it this week, I spent a couple days just searching around for some deals in the local area. I found a really interesting Aqua Teen Hunger Force bootleg shirt. I also found a Carl official shirt. And then, thanks to the internet and some searching, I was able to find the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie on VCD from Turkey. And it is very interesting. The packaging is interesting. It's just very, very interesting. Here's a funny, yet not safe for work kind of topic. So one of the shows that I collect for is the show American Dad. If you guys have never seen that show, it's pretty insane. The first couple seasons are awesome. The writing is really good. It's really funny. And for some reason, I have this secret love for Scott Grimes, just because I love how they use his character in the show. The fact that he was a musician before being a voice actor, it makes me crack up so much. But if you're a fan of American Dad, or you have ever collected American Dad stuff and done some Google searches, you will eventually, you hear my voice? You will eventually stumble on to an American Dad parody that is an adult film. I stumbled onto this a while ago, and I just cracked up because they have someone in the film in a Roger costume, and it is the worst looking costume I have ever seen. I remember seeing this a few years ago and just died laughing. And I'm not a person who collects those types of movies. Not to say that there's anything wrong with it, but I just don't. I never really have. And I found myself stumbling onto this American Dad adult film again because I was searching for Adult Swim stuff, and I actually found a poster and a physical DVD of this movie. And if you want to look at the screen right now, I'll show the cover, and I really hope you guys laugh as much as I do. Again, I don't normally buy this type of stuff, but I thought that this, for the American Dad collection, was such a funny piece, a hilarious conversation starter, and one of those, what's the word, like tangentially related, or like, like 6 degrees separated or whatever. It is related to the American Dad collection, though it is not affiliated with American Dad at all whatsoever. So I know that's a little out there. I know that item is a little bit weird, but I hope that you got a kick out of the Roger costume at the bare minimum, because I just can't look at it without cracking up. So hopefully that brought a smile to your face. On the bright side, I think I have actually found somebody who wants to take the entire Dexter collection. I'm still waiting on how he's going to be able to get around the finances, but we've gone through all the items. He seems extremely interested, very motivated, and he's a serious collector. So that's really good news, because I need to do some massive fundraising for this next batch of music. Not only paying for studio time, but lodging, food, transportation, everything else. It's not going to be cheap. So selling that collection is going to be a nice dent into the fundraising fund. Again, as I've been mentioning, I do have fundraiser bundles, fundraiser t-shirts, all kinds of stuff. Just head over to the website and hit the shop tab, and you will find all kinds of stuff. Basically, everything that's being sold right now, all the money is being saved and being put towards this new project. So if you like what I do, if you want to see something new, different, and dare I say bigger than anything I've done before, even though it's only 3 songs, pick up a shirt, pick up a CD, show some support. If you like what I'm doing, you're definitely going to like this. I don't toot my horn often, but day by day, this little idea is becoming bigger and bigger. And there's a part of me that is getting impatient because it's taking so long, and it's going to take even longer. But I just am wrapping my head around who I am, what I am, the level of seriousness that I'm putting behind this, the money that I want to put behind it. It takes a lot of time. So I'm trying to be as patient as I can with myself and with everyone that's connected to it. What else is new? I'm looking around the office trying to see if I got any other new fun toys this week or anything else came in. I got a bunch of research prototype examples for the packaging that I'm working on this week. So that's cool because a lot of it is outside of my skill set. So I'm trying my hardest to get every bit of information I can to try to make these things as awesome as I can for you guys. I'm week 7 into working out, and 3 days ago I tweaked something in my back doing barbell presses. I think something in my spine right in the middle of my shoulder blades. It hurts a pretty good deal if I bend my head down. I'm trying to do it while I'm talking in the mic, but I'm going to get off the mic. Hold on. Yeah, I can feel that tension. I haven't worked out now. It's been 3 days. I took muscle relaxers the past 2 days and they've helped, but I'm going to have to do some cardio today and just some minor stretching. Keep the machine oiled up. Even though my body's getting stronger and I'm hitting these benchmarks, month after month after year, it's still very temperamental at times. And I get these little setbacks that are aggravating. But as long as I rest correctly and I don't do anything to flare it up, usually I'm only down for a couple days and then I can get right back to it. If it's more impactful than what I'm describing, it may last up to 2 weeks. And then my body gets a little bit like flabby and doesn't want to work out. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen because I've been working out for 7 weeks straight. I hope I can keep the momentum going. I've been sidelined for a while now, so it feels really good to get back into the motion and be working. And 7 weeks in, my body's starting to take to it really well. And let's just hope this little tweak is just a minor setback. Doing this podcast has been really enjoyable. It's nice to be able to look forward to just coming here and kind of venting and word vomiting all over the mic. Some of it gets cut, some of it stays, but I find that it's a good thing, and I'm really happy for those people who have been listening to the podcast so far and have enjoyed it and have reached out and just shared their opinion on it. I really do appreciate it. One of my biggest goals with this podcast was to make these solo episodes as engaging as they could be and to have some participation. And that has happened. And that's awesome. I don't expect to reach hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people with anything that I do. That's not my goal. I mean, I think anyone would like, more attention on what they're doing. Everyone likes that. But, my goal is to want to be able to connect with the people who know me and share some cool stuff with them. Get to know each other more, find some greatness in this world. Maybe we could even do it together. And we have been. And that's really awesome. 13 episodes in, I'm already getting some feedback that I didn't think I would get because I'm such a small fish in a big sea. And I just wanted to say that's awesome. And I'm really glad you guys are tuning in. I'm glad you're being a part of the show. I'm glad you're getting something out of my responses. And yeah, I'm thrilled. So thank you. Thank you for listening and thank you for tuning in. As I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, I don't know what's going to happen. I know once I finish season 1, all my efforts are going right into music. And after that, I might revisit this again. It depends. But so far, it seems like you guys have really been enjoying it. And it has served a purpose so far for not only me, but for you. So if I still keep getting that impression, I think there might be a good chance we might have to do a season 2, you know? I need a haircut. Don't you guys hate waiting for things? My anxiety always flares up when I'm sitting around waiting for shit. I hate it. So my cousin got married, and I was able to see pictures, and it looked like a beautiful ceremony. My brother went and said it was a great time. He said that it was nice seeing everyone. There's a part of me that really, really misses my family. I've been rehearsing the songs to go into the studio, but since the world is slowly opening up, and if I can do everything I want to do, I'd like to be able to hit the road and play some music. I've got to get the live performance up to snuff, as they say. We just did a massive clean of the house, and I had to break down everything and then build it all back up. Okay, so here's something that's kind of cool. I spoke a while ago with a guy on the internet about moral oral. I stumbled onto some post that he made where he showed a character prop. He had a Clay, the dad, figure. Well, it turns out that he owns a lot more than one figure. We actually sat down and talked for a little bit this week, and I was blown away because the person I was talking to, I didn't know who they were. I just thought it was some fan of Moral Oral. And it turns out that this guy is actually a huge Dino fan. He's a huge Moral Oral fan. He actually has helped Starburns with a number of different merchandising ideas. He also works on his own projects as well. And long story short, we had a conversation about possibly doing a trade. I kind of feel I might have scared him off, but last I spoke to him, he gave me his email, and he says he's on a writing retreat, but will be back next week. He says, I'll call you then, and we can keep talking. So I'm trying to get this guy to possibly help secure a character prop. I have a potential item to trade him, which I sent him an email about it yesterday. And all I got to do is be patient, which is hard to do because this is a show that I very, very much love. So I'm very excited about possibly working out some sort of deal here. Patience is the name of the game, and hopefully I can have some updates on that soon. You know, I keep saying that I want to do more with this collection, and this podcast being one of those things. But I want to do more, and I'm trying to find a way to preserve this stuff, but in a way that others can enjoy it and not just myself. Unfortunately, with the world being the way that it is, it's making it a little bit difficult to push some of those plans forward. But I've been speaking to some people, and let's just say if everything can go as planned, I definitely have some more in the bag as far as what I want to do with some of this collection items. You guys just stay tuned because, oh man, if this guy hits me back, this is going to be crazy. I'm recording this on the podcast as I'm sending it right now. So I'm sending an audio message to my friend Dustin. He's about 20 messages deep because he's gone MIA this week. But once he hears this, maybe he'll give us an audio response for the podcast. Dustin told me last week that he is planning on finishing up a few projects, and then he's going to kind of do like a little vacation, as well as he's going to go pick up some music equipment, basically. He's kind of tying them both together. But regardless, he said once he gets back, pending a few different things, we're going to be able to start on this music. And that's really exciting. I mean, I still have a lot of funds to get together, but there's so many like preliminary stuff that we need to like work on. I'm just excited as hell to get started. Are you excited, Dustin? I'm excited. So we'll see if he actually like responds back, but I'm really excited and I can't say that enough. All right, Dustin just hit me back and he's got a little update. This is pretty awesome.
So I just finished up a vocal session today with this other country project, and I'm going to try and wrap stuff up over the weekend to hit the road next week for sure on some kind of road trip, whether or not my car is adequately repaired or I have to borrow one.
Yeah! All right. So that gives us a little bit of an update. At least we know that vacation's starting soon, and once he gets back, we can get to work. That just means I need to sell my kidney. Anybody in the market for a kidney? Oh, here's something I can mention for you musical nerds out there. I posted this on my Instagram, but I thought I would mention it here too. You know, I just set up all my live equipment, and I was rehearsing some of the songs, and it's been a while since I've been rehearsing, so I know my voice is trash. I started singing some of the songs, and I'm like, man, my voice sounds good. I was like really pleasantly surprised, actually, on how everything was sounding after taking some time off. And then I remembered that in my chain is a TC Helicon. I think that's what it's called. I might have mentioned this pedal before. Hold on, I'm trying to look it up right now. TC Helicon Mic Mechanic, the Mic Mechanic 2. This pedal is I'm really happy I bought this pedal for a few reasons. The pedal itself is like a vocal pedal, and it has a couple cool things on it that I purchased it for, which was reverb, a little bit of EQ, compression, and a built-in de-esser. As you guys can tell, my S's are pretty in your face, so I try to tone those down as much as I can. Now, this pedal also has a note correction option, and let me be clear, this isn't like auto-tune. So basically all it does is kind of round off the note that you're singing. So if you're a little bit flat from a C, it'll bump it up to a C, okay? But let's say if you're radically far from a C, it's not going to shoot you all the way to a C like auto-tune does. And that's where you get those warble kind of noises, you know, because it pulls your voice so hard. Whatever note you're shooting for, if you're like a half step off, whether that's flat or sharp, it seems like it just kind of puts the note where it should be, at least where it thinks it should be. And this pedal works so good that I have to stop using it right now because I need to pay attention to where my breathing is. I need to pay attention to where my voice is sitting. I need to pay attention to a bunch of things that you would need to do when you haven't used your voice in a while. And this pedal makes it so that I almost don't have to. And that's a really cool selling point, but it's also really bad because it's like tripping me out mentally. Like, I know I don't sound that good. I know that there's imperfections of my voice, and there always will be. I'm not like a classically trained singer. I'm a smoker. There's a whole bunch of things working against me here. And so, you know, take that for whatever it is. But that pedal, I just think, you know, I've always been impressed with it because there's so many cool things inside of this tiny little pedal. But to really witness how that pitch correction works is just, it's really cool. I'm really satisfied I bought that pedal. The pitch correction thing is always nice because, you know, even a singer who's top notch is only performing, you know, they're not performing 100% of the time. You know, a couple notes will be flat or, you know, something will be off. I heard somewhere that like the consistency for like a high tier singer is like 70%. Now I know that some people might disagree with that, but if you've ever been in a studio before working with full-time musicians, you may understand why people would say that. And this pedal's cool because it helps for that extra little bit, you know, which is much, much different than if you were a vocalist who was only performing 30% of the time, not 70% of the time, and you had to rely on auto-tune because you know, 70% of the time you're missing your notes. you're only hitting them 30% of the time, you know? Have I lost everyone in this podcast so far? Or are you guys still listening? You guys want to talk about audio compression and side chaining EQ? And oh my God, I'll just stop. Sorry. Here's something to talk about. I've been trying to find this Moral Oral German edition for freaking ever. And no matter who I talk to, I cannot get somebody in Germany to help me. I've got so many different leads, but none of them are panning out. Is this still recording? I don't know what to talk about. Depression has completely sucked the life out of me this week. I need to do this podcast in chunks today. I gotta go get my hair cut. I'm honestly just not in it mentally. And I have some updates for you guys, as you've heard. We're going to have a special guest chime in. And we're also going to do some questions. But as I mentioned, I need to get my hair cut. I need to do some stuff around the house. So through the magic of editing, I'm going to hit the pause button and I'll be back very shortly. For me, it'll be for a while. But for you, it'll only be a few seconds, which is nice. And I am back. I got a haircut. I'm feeling fresh. I am streaming on Instagram right now, talking Aqua Teen Hunger Force with my buddy Justin. And yeah, I've been able to edit all of this podcast today. I'm feeling a little bit better. Why is it that a new pair of socks and a new haircut always makes you feel a little bit better? I don't know. Maybe it's just the impression that you feel new. I don't know. So what we're going to do now is cut to a few mini interviews. I coordinated a few different talks that I wanted to throw into this episode because, like I said, I've been kind of in a funk and I need something great. So I'm going to touch base with my friend Anthony, who's had me on his podcast a few times. He's also known as Spoken Life on the internet. So we're going to touch base with him. So if you've just been listening to the podcast, take a look at the screen because we're going to switch over to video right now. It's just nice to see you and say
Absolutely,
hey,
man.
And I don't care if there's a little audio echo going on. I'll figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been having a rough week, so I thought I would give my friend Anthony a call, who's always a positive ray of sunshine, and see what's going on in his world while I drink my breakfast.
There you go, buddy. Yeah, it's always good to see you. Even, though we now live on opposite ends of the U.S., it's always good to catch up. And, like I said, we haven't had a general conversation until you were on my podcast on my 1 year anniversary show. And even before that, we had a elongated conversation on my third episode of my podcast, Table Talk. And that was even fun. And talking about when we got to actually play a show together. And it was fun, man. We definitely got to, do that again once a lot of this stuff clears up. And if you ever get back on the East Coast and, it's always fun being able to chat with you. Like you said, it's always good to chat with like-minded musicians and hear about their stories and struggles through, what we always go through with music. It's always a up and down cycle of, good times and times where you think that, nobody's listening to you, but then you always have that one moment. At least I know for my sake, like I go through a lot of things like, am I really doing this for the right reasons? Or does anybody really care that I'm playing? But then I just got a good, moment when I was at an open mic a couple weeks ago. And I never really thought that I felt that I've been recognized as a musician in my local scene before, especially playing solo music. But, I did a headlining spot at an open mic, or a featured artist. It's not necessarily a headlining spot, but a featured artist at an open mic. And I got a lot of positive feedback from people that, that are in like, I guess you could still say cliques of like the music scene. And I got a lot of positive feedback from a lot of the people that I thought that like kind of necessarily didn't really care or see me as like, oh, I mean, I know he plays, but whatever. But, so it made me feel like I felt part of the music scene that night. And it really made me, rejuvenated as like a musician that I am recognized in this, scene. And it made me feel like good for those couple minutes of being able to talk to people and felt like, part of the crowd. I've always struggled with, feeling like I'm never part of the crowd. That I've always been like, not necessarily the outsider, but like never like fitting in with certain people. I've always been, I've always been a person that has like been okay with, being on my own and, being by myself. But then, not that I'm not a people person, I am a people person, but, I've always struggled with, feeling like you never fit in with certain people.
Well, you're preaching to the choir. You know, this reminds me of that meme that you see where it's like a musician shoves $10,000 worth of gear into a car and drives four
Yeah.
hours to make it
Uh
50
huh.
bucks at a gig kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then you have the other side of the pond of where you do get recognition, and then there's problems on that side. There's always two sides of the coin. But from my perspective, I mean, I was the 5 foot tall, almost 300 pound kid at my school, the only kid with black fingernails and death metal shirts, getting garbage
Yeah.
thrown at him and getting beat up. So I've always had
Jeez.
trouble finding my own little niche.
Yeah.
But with music, that's you know it's weird because in some scenes it is like a popularity contest, and there are
Yeah.
clicks and other things way outside of just creating songs. And yeah, personally, I just try to kind of do my own thing, and I don't play into that. And sometimes it can make you feel like you're on an island alone because you're definitely
Yeah.
doing your own thing. But
Right.
yeah, those little bits of things, they definitely keep you going. Reminds me of that dogma quote. I hate quoting movies, but he said, life's a bunch of horrible events or whatever, but it's those shared moments in between.
Yeah.
Hence why, even through my own struggles recently, it's nice to speak to somebody to be one of those shared moments and just hanging out, like having a nice morning this morning. But you do mention, we were able to play on the East Coast. I
Hmm.
have seen that you're playing out more and more. And my plan right now, if my body can actually do it, is to hopefully go to Chicago to work on new music and then hopefully go
Nice.
on the road again. So hopefully we will be able to do something soon because it's been a long time coming with a lot of hurdles, but I hope to come back there even if I'm playing on a street corner, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it'll
man.
happen in some capacity, no doubt about that.
I feel, especially since I do a lot more cover gigs now than original gigs, switching from that type of scene. Because, I just turned 35, and at the time I was 30 when, or like 30, 31, when I was switching into becoming like a cover artist, I'd say. I still like to consider myself an original artist. I still write a lot of my own music, but, the cover gigs, kind of pay the way and for me to continue to be, saying, okay, I do still do music because, I think you know this as well that a lot of original musicians don't make a lot of money on their shows because you're paying. I mean, at least out here from the shows that I used to play, you're asking people $15 for a ticket that you're only getting like maybe $2 for, but you have to sell a certain amount of tickets before you get paid, and if that, you might be getting like gas money at that point. So you might be able to sell a lot of tickets and make probably like $100, $200 in ticket sales, but you might only make a tenth or a like 30% of that coming back at you after the sound guy gets paid, the promoter gets paid. So at least with the cover gigs, unless you get a gig through a booking agency or a other promoter, if you can book your own shows and get everything coming to yourself, and you're playing for 3 4 hours and you get way more uh, than what you would do as an original artist. Now, band wise, it's a lot different. I feel going back into what I was originally going to be saying, I feel that if not getting at like a venue, we can actually probably do like if I'm like playing at a cover gig and you happen to be in town on that weekend, I could just have you like come up for like a set and play a set, and it like I can just have you as a feature saying like, hey, I'm gonna take a break, but my buddy's gonna hop up on here for about a half hour. He's coming from the West Coast, and
Cool.
he's out in Chicago, writing some songs, and he wanted to top in and play a couple. And I mean, they don't really give you like uh, a like a thing. Sometimes you can just do whatever when you're up there. I mean, as long as they have you playing music and liking it, they don't care.
Well, those numbers are garbage, but I can see why you wouldn't want to play that game. And in the Chicagoland area and many other areas, I've seen a lot of other pre-sale approaches and ticket splits and all different types of ways to approach shows. But you're right. If you're
Yeah.
booking it all yourself, you definitely take the lion's share. It makes things a little bit easier to manage and a little bit more realistic. But you bring up an interesting point because a lot of these venue owners, your original point was saying, sometimes it can be hard to get original music out there or be able to get a big draw. There's a lot of
Hmm.
noise out there, so it can be difficult.
Yeah.
But I also think the expectations for some of these people are a little ridiculous. Like
Right.
when so many bars want you to come in to play 3 hours worth of material, but will only pay you $100 for that 3 to 4 hours of
Hmm.
full blown material, and they will even compromise that money if they don't sell to a point that they feel is okay. Yet they'll pay their waiters, they'll pay their wait staff, they'll pay their
Hmm.
dishwashers and everyone else. Yet you don't get looked at the same, regardless of whatever
Yes.
kind of agreement you have. Which I find is
Yeah.
funny because with comedy, there's rooms all over the nation that people can work out their art.
Yeah.
They can go in there and do a 15-minute set and work out something and it's fine. And for musicians, it's like there's open mics, but you're not getting $15 for that set. You're not getting anything.
No.
The
No.
expectations for musicians is really high and the payout is really small because I feel like it's just been devalued so much. Now, obviously,
Mhm.
if you're a bigger act, you have a little bit more of bargaining chip, and you can start to,
Yeah.
you know, kind of make a little bit more demands, and they'll work with you because you are bringing a substantial amount of people. But yeah, in this day and age, it's hard for people to justify musicians' time when Spotify is so cheap.
I agree with a lot of your points there with the fact that I go back to a point where somebody was saying on a Facebook group that back in the 70s or 80s, like cover bands and solo artists were getting paid like, maybe $100 each. And it's still to this day around the same thing. Like, but, minimum wage has gotten higher and higher throughout the years. So why wouldn't an artist's pay be kind of going up as well?
Well,
And,
there are in regards to like different unions that are set up for
yeah,
musicians. There's no doubt about that. But for the outlaws, there's nothing, man. You're out here,
yeah,
scraping by with whatever you can put together, which doesn't garnish any sympathy that I'm looking for it
yeah,
or either one of us. But it's a fact. You don't have that safety net. You don't have that 401k. You don't have that backing. You don't
yeah.
have that institution behind you or the funding behind you from some bank loan or something else if you're fully
Yeah.
independent.
I mean, I loved playing a lot of the original music, and the money was never, and still to this day, I mean, the money was never really a factor, because just getting out and performing, I love performing. I can get paid $5 and I'll perform just as much. But I mean, you know, coming to an age where I'm like, okay, I mean, getting in my 30s, and at that time I'm thinking of, I'm going to, be married, start to have a family. I'm going to have to, start devoting some time. And if I'm going to be still playing music, you got to start bringing in a little bit of money with this. So that's why, I mean, I didn't really want to be doing a lot of the cover artist stuff, because I never really wanted to be known as a cover artist. I wanted to be known for my original music. And to this day, I mean, I still feel okay that you can still write your original music and play these at these shows, and you can still have a good mix. And there's some venues out there, they're like, okay, no original music, all covers. And then some are like, you can play whatever you want as long as you're effing playing. But again, like you said, it depends on the venues or bars that you play, what state you're playing in, because every state has their caps and everything.
Who
But
you are, like
who you are
there's so many
exactly, and if you
details.
have a following, I mean, that's one of the things that I liked about playing a lot of these gigs is when you're an original artist, your draw was the biggest thing about, okay, how many people can you bring? Because then if you can bring us money, you're going to make money. At least with the cover gigs, you don't necessarily have to like draw initially. At some venues, they'll probably bring you on an off night, see how you react to the crowd, and if they like you, they'll put you on a better night. But they're not really looking to see if you draw initially, so unless you're playing at a really big uh venue that you're playing cover gigs at. Like I think it might be more for bands, but solo artists, at least for me, I haven't had to really prove to many gigs that I can bring people out. I mean, I usually never not bring any people out because I feel that's disrespectful. If you're going to be, performing music, and if you have a little bit of a crowd, I usually at least try to bring a handful of people to support the establishment that I'm at, instead of just being like, okay, here I am, and I'm expecting you to bring the people to me. And to an extent, I feel that, but I feel for a respect to the place that I'm playing, I should be able to bring them some business as well, offhand, like initially.
Well, let me try to touch down on some of this. Like, it's definitely the musician's job to spread the word, but it's also the
Hmm.
promoter and the venue owners to worry
I
about the
agree.
people who are
I
there as
agree.
well.
I agree 100% with that.
Um,
Yes.
it should be said that what we're talking about here is only like a really small conversation for a small minority of like musicians who struggle. And there's a lot of different avenues and a lot of different venues and a lot of different context and details that go into this. We're just speaking about like one or two similarities here.
Hmm.
But you bring up the point of, I play for $5. And that kind of hustle and determination, even at this age, is a rare thing because priorities become more important.
Yeah.
And, you speak of things, that might allude to ego or pride when you say, I don't want to be known as this or I don't want to, whatever. But when your priorities get so big, some of those things just completely go to the wayside.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we're speaking about this small little niche thing, but to bring it from a higher view, it's really foreshadowing the power of no, because you start to value your time, and you're so hungry and you just want to get out there because you're ambitious, but you start to value your time. You start to understand the power of no, where it's like, I would take $5, but I have priorities, so I'm going to get $500 because
Right.
that's what I want for this, and that's what I
Hmm.
believe my time is worth. And
Yes.
for something like yourself, and that leads me to the question that I'll ask next. But
Hmm.
you've got a lot more priorities, so I can understand how certain viewpoints you had as you're younger would have to evolve and change, and you would have to find
Yeah.
different ways to be able to put some of these priorities into play that maybe a normal musician don't have to. My monkey
Hmm.
back here only needs enough food, but your baby needs formula and diapers and this, that, or the other. And we know you
Yeah.
have a day job, but
Hmm.
your the time spent with music is so much that there has to be a little bit of give and take there, or else
Yeah.
you're making a sacrifice, and now it's at your child's behalf,
Yeah.
which becomes a much more complex problem. But that makes me want to ask, and I asked this on your podcast too, but how's dad life?
It's been going great, man. I tell this to everybody. It's amazing what the first year of your life looks like, because you don't really remember that stuff. So seeing firsthand what he, going through, the tummy time thing and learning to pick himself up, and now he's just about to start walking. He's crawling everywhere and starting to get little talk phrases here and there, and just like the little pieces that are putting together to the person that we are right now, that everything that we've comprehended. But it's but to say that dad life is easy is, it has its moments where you don't get a lot of sleep, that you're up crazy hours of the night, and but at the end of the day it's all worth it, because just to come home and see him doing his little thing, and then he looks at you and smiles. That's like the best thing ever, because that's what you live for. And you're like you were saying with priorities, your priorities change uh once you have a kid. And I was never, not that was not a kid person, but I wasn't that kind of person that was like, oh, let me hold your kid. Or somebody asked, oh, do you want to hold him? I'm like, no, no, I'm okay, because I was always afraid of, like, I don't want to be the person that dropped your kid by an accident, blah blah blah. And like you get those first time parent nerves before they're born. But once he was born, all that stuff went out the window. And I'm holding him, and I'm like, wow, I'm actually holding my son. And I don't feel the same type of things that it would be if I was holding somebody else's, obviously, because it's your kid, totally different. And I told that to myself, you're going to feel it totally different because it's going to be your kid instead of holding somebody else's. You're going to have you're going to have a different type of attachment to that person. But yeah, man, it's been really good. It's been a different experience, and I've learned a lot within the last 14 months of his life of you know being able to you know just see his progress, and then being able to I guess within 14 months you don't really have too much of like uh life lessons with him yet. You can't really sit down and have a genuine conversation with him because he'll just look at you and then just look back and watch a Mickey Mouse and be like, okay, this is cool. So, but you think of things like, wow, you're going to have these moments with him eventually, and you look forward to those moments. But when you're living in the now, it's like, okay, you know, just make sure that he's getting this done, getting that done, make sure he gets his bottle, his food, and everything. And so it's been an experience, and I really like being a dad. It's been great.
That's awesome. Well, at least we know that the stress won't make you lose any more hair. So at least you're good, as
Yeah,
far
that's
as
the
that
only if that's
goes.
the only if that's the only thing I can control, I'll take
Yeah, right.
it.
No, that's good though. I know that it can be overwhelming and it's definitely a different change of pace, but it
Hmm.
seems like you're warming up to it and there's definitely, yeah, a lot to grow. It does mess with you psychologically because you start to think of things in a way different way because it's
Oh yeah,
in your backyard, you know what I mean? So,
because especially for me, it's like you kind of feel every time he's doing something like you have to be over top of him because he doesn't know certain things yet. He doesn't know, okay, don't go over there because you might hurt yourself. So you have to kind of be where you're like, okay, no, 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 okay, let me go get him. And then, and unless he starts catching on to be like, okay, I know I'm not supposed to do that. But, I feel and I think this is still just first time parenting stuff that you're always worried about, making sure because I feel sometimes I'll pick them up when I don't necessarily have to. I can just kind of lay them down and be like, okay, be right back, like because he can just sit up and if you have him watching TV or something, he'll be okay. And you can leave the room for like a couple seconds and get something. But like sometimes I'll just be like, you know what? I'll just pick them up and go here. So it's like me just getting that confidence to just be like, okay, leave him for 2 seconds, it'll be fine. You don't always have to like pick him up. But yeah, it's little things that you learn every day, and uh, I think as time goes by, you start trusting your inner self to trust him, and he trusts you, and because you always feel that okay, am I doing the right thing for him? Am I doing what I should be doing? But at the end of the day, as long as he's happy and eating and is regular and healthy, you're doing great.
it's interesting that you say that because you can tell you're fearful, but also like not wanting to be, wanting to give him that control, sort of, if that's the correct term. But like you said, he's extremely young. So
Hmm.
once that cognitive thinking starts to actually come into play, which I think is, I mean, it depends on the child, but I want to say like 3 or 4. That's when they really start, like really, really start talking and remembering things big
Yeah.
time. Um, I think that level of fear and comfortability, like right now it's right here, but it's going to grow the more that he
Oh
grows, and
yeah.
you're going to be able
Yeah.
to be more confident with it too,
Uh
which
huh.
is beautiful. My brother has 2 daughters, and he has a problem with that, like trying to give them their space, but still be protective of
Yeah.
who they are, and he doesn't want to be
Right.
overbearing. And
And
it
that's kind of
sucks.
how I feel. I guess that's kind of wraps up what I feel too. And you, like you said, at an age of like just over one, you don't necessarily have to worry about that yet. But as they get older, like you said, it kind of gets a little bit, and then you have to give them their own space to let them learn for themselves. But you also need to be there to correct them, to lead them. But you want to be able to have them have their own experience with it, but still be guiding them to be like, okay, once they get into a certain point of like, okay, well, I know they're gonna, then you can kind of put in, but you got to have that balance of, you know, do I let them find out for themselves, or do I correct them now so they don't? So
Well,
when's the perfect time?
obviously I don't know like your child and how you guys interact and where he's at
Hmm.
mentally, but it's like just knowing that it's 14 months, it's still in that level of infancy that it's like
Yeah.
it takes some time. So I think some of the worries that you have may be, no pun intended, premature, but
Hmm.
like they're honest and they make sense. And I think that once, like I said, that cognitive development starts to happen, I think you're going to see it more. Where, like you were saying before, no, don't do that. No, don't do that. Well, I got to go get him because he's clearly just not getting it. He's going to
Yeah.
eventually hear, and that's going to be
Exactly.
an even more cathartic like experience for you because then you're going to
Yeah.
see your kid actually growing and sponging, and that's
Hmm.
even more beautiful. Well, first thing, I think it's funny that we both like love the acoustic guitar so much, yet we're both sitting around wearing ridiculously like
For the fallen dreams, and is that
metal
misery
misery signals,
signals?
yeah, metalcore
Nice.
shirts.
Yeah, I was just
Hilarious.
recording some heavier music last night, and I obviously won't put it out for my sake, but I mean, I'm glad. And that was one of the things when we first met, that I noticed you had a very big metal influence, and I'm like, all right, cool. This guy knows a lot of stuff, and I just started listening to a lot of like pop punk, easy core type stuff, like set your goals and everything. And me and my buddy are trying to start a podcast for ourselves early next year, and I'm like, dude, I want to write an intro for us because I wrote an intro for my podcast, and I thought I wanted to do something that's like upbeat, but like we both kind of like the heavier stuff. We have a good sense of musical similarities, and so I had this type of like not metal core-ish, but like pop punky easy core type thing, and I started listening to a couple different uh you know ideas, and then just started writing some stuff. And I felt that because I was in a metal band before, and I really liked being there, so it's been a while since I wrote any type of metal music, so it was cool to kind of just get back to writing some heavier stuff. And I
You
heard
know,
you're trying to write some stuff like that right now, right? From what I think you were saying a couple months back, you wanted to write some heavier tunes or something. Correct me if I'm wrong.
um, I always, I don't know. I do a lot of demoing here, so I riff a lot and just whatever. But it's something that I've wanted to do for a long time. It's hard because it's difficult to do a lot of work by myself. And
Uh-huh.
on top of everything that I have going on, it's hard to be able to then block out a bunch of time to work on something additional.
Hmm.
But I'm finding different ways to kind of manage my life a little bit better to try to free up some time. And I
Uh-huh.
would like to, in the future, revisit that, even if it's just for like releasing a song or something, just doing something fun, because I've got equipment to do it, and it's something that I do enjoy. It's just being
Hmm.
able to justify it. And right now, I'm like knee deep in two different projects. So if I were to do it, it would probably, I don't know, come soon. I'm in the middle of trying to learn the entire Misery Signals controller album on guitar, so that'll probably take me a
Nice.
while just because I'm bored and that's enjoyable to a certain extent. What's the
Right.
latest piece of gear you've picked up, dude?
What's the latest piece of gear? Through the pandemic, I feel I've really went haywire with like buying not necessarily just like gear, but I did a whole like upgrade to a lot of my sound with, especially with the live looping stuff that I do. But I think the last piece of gear that I added to my pedal board was the Boss Super Octave OC3. I usually was just making bass lines with my regular guitar tone, but I started seeing a lot of people using an octave pedal for their bass lines. So, and I was researching a couple different uh, models from Boss, and I think Pog made another octave pedal, which I was very optimistic to get too. But I think something about the Boss, and I have the Boss chromatic tuner, a Boss uh, looper. So I felt I needed to kind of stick with the brand in a way. I think I've been really doing a lot more like buying a lot more recording gear, like plugins and stuff. I feel, I've been addicted to just buying a whole bunch of like plugins and working with them, especially amp plugins. And because I just bought uh Neural SPD's Soldano amplifier. What is it? Soldano SLO 100? Yeah, that the heavy gain amplifier, and I was actually using that last night for recording, and just the tones out of that are amazing. And the Neural SP amps have been really widespread with a lot of people. I hear a lot of good things about them.
Well, first off, that's an interesting approach to the bass line. I know some live loopers will just have a mixer and they'll just bring a bass and they'll just play it. Some people use
A lot of people do that too. Yeah.
They'll use a pitch shift. They'll use a few different approaches, but that's interesting to use the octave pedal. Not only can you get that Darren Miller CKY tone whenever you want, but
Yeah.
that's interesting. You know, I have bias effects here from a few years ago, and I just am not happy with that at all. I've been thinking about looking into neural, but right now, justifying anything electric guitar, I can't do it. But I've been looking at that software as well as a few different hardware options. But that software does look pretty nice, and a lot of people are speaking highly about it. So let me know, how you like that as much as it progresses. Do you have any universal audio plugins?
I don't, but I heard they're top shelf too.
Yeah.
I really wanted, because I got the Focusrite, and I was, before I got the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2, I really wanted to just put my money into a universal audio interface, because I know that's like top standard. But I'm like, I didn't want to. I didn't want know if I wanted to throw out that much money right away. But I would definitely want to work up to that, because I know you get a lot of the plugins with it.
I know a few people, one particularly, who owns a lot of really top shelf universal audio gear, and he'll argue that some of the lower stuff isn't worth the bucks, but I've heard him say a few times, as well as a few other people, that some of their plugins, it's close to the next best thing. If you can't afford what they're trying to do, and most people are not going to spend $7,000 on a compressor,
Yeah.
it's really decent. I've heard a lot of people would just be really satisfied with a lot of their packs that they put out recently, and it's something I've been thinking about getting too. But honestly, like, I don't know, I'll probably be making the transition of doing everything under one house, but I'm still, I don't know, I still need the help of others. So I haven't abandoned going to studios yet.
What I've been currently doing is looking at my old recordings, and I've always wanted to re-record some of those. So I've been looking at those and be like, okay, this song has some potential. I just need to re-record it, and I feel vocally my voice has gotten better since I've started back in like 2012. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a Justin Timberlake, but I feel I can hold a tune a lot better than what I used to. Working on songwriting, working on better recording performances and being a better mixer, and along the same way as being a better performer as well. So there's a lot of things that go on in my musical head that I'm always constantly thinking, how can I make myself better musically? And especially it comes in the same play as being a podcaster.
When I first started recording music, I did some stuff at home, but I had no idea what I was doing, and I abandoned that and started working with people who knew a little bit more. And I know I'm eventually going to have to go back to it, which will take a hit in production, because a lot of this stuff I need to go back and try to learn for myself. But
yeah,
I'll be honest with you, like, I think I've been able to actually do more with being able to delegate because of the complications that happen in my life.
Yeah.
Because of who I am, because of the physical issues that I'm having, things like that. Like, I can only do stuff for so long. So I can't be my own performer, engineer, producer, publicist, you know what I'm saying? Like, doing all that at once becomes huge. And also
it is
becoming honest with yourself by saying, like, I have years of experience in doing this craft. Whether or not I excel at this craft, this is what I do. And as much as I've worked in studios and learned things, for example, like I'm going back to Chicago to work with a guy that I used to work
Hmm.
with, and I expressed this to somebody else recently. They were asking like why, because we were talking about finances, and I'm like, it's gonna kill me, but it is what it is. And they're like, well, why is it so important to bring this specific person on it? And I go, well, for example, I've had a lot of experience in the things that I've had experience in. But what I'm trying to do right now involves an understanding of full mixes that I don't have that much time invested on. Yet I'm working with somebody who spends their time mixing and mastering all types of bands, who
Uh-huh.
has just so much more of a background in there, and being able to delegate it to somebody who is bringing something to the table that it's kind of like you said before with a kid, like you can do as much knowledge as you can, but until like you touch the fire, you're not going to really know that it burns. And
Yep.
I don't know
Yeah.
if that's a sense of people being naive or a sense of them not being empathetic and really understanding what they're learning and being able to apply it, or maybe if it just comes down to that experience trumps academia, it trumps knowledge and actually doing it. And
Yeah.
that's why sometimes working with some of these people who have way more experience can bring things to the table. Even if I have knowledge about something, they'll do something completely unconventional, because like you said, not every recording environment is the same. Not every microphone is the same. Not every player
Uh-huh.
is the same. There's so
Yeah.
many different things that come into play. And
Yeah.
for me, if I got to sit there and realize why these things aren't happening, then analyze the room, then figure out why this is happening. Somebody else is
Yeah.
like, boom, this is why. We're not even going to approach this because I already know that these problems are going to happen. So we're going to do all this to avoid it.
Hmm. Yeah.
That type of expertise, even though it's going to have to fall on my shoulders, is worth its weight in gold, because
Hmm.
I can't. I need help with things like that. It just becomes it's way too much for me. But I'm
Right.
out of my mind, so
No,
whatever.
I agree. It's like you were saying, you can read all the books about recording. You read all the books about trying to become a father and a parent, but until you're in the thick of it, that's when you really learn to record and mix and be a parent. Because every person's experience is different with those situations. So until you're put in those situations, that's when you really get the experience and you learn from it. So uh, you know, when it comes like we can all go to studios and get the best quality, but we have to obviously pay for that best quality. Where you can now, we live in the greatest time where you don't have to necessarily go into a studio if you don't want to. You can just buy the software and learn from yourself, and it may not be pro grade quality, but even the quality of stuff today is still a decent quality sound. You can get some decent sound demos out of a lot of things today.
So
And
this is a Shure KSM 32. It's a fine microphone that works
yeah.
fine. It's got some darker elements to it, but like this is fine for acoustic guitar. It's fine for vocals, and it's more than okay.
Yeah.
Uh, but sometimes, like you said, if you have the opportunity, there are some things that might not be at your disposal. I know the microphone that I'll be using on my voice is probably about 9 times worth what this mic is worth, and its
Yeah.
audio response is unlike this. So will
Right.
this do the job? Sure. But sometimes renting that gear and doing other stuff can give you something. Though I think a lot of bedroom producers will disagree, because, and not to say you're a bedroom producer by any means, but we've seen people
Hmm.
make award-winning albums from their bedroom. Um, you
Charlie
know,
Puth,
there
great
is
example.
a middle ground there. There's no doubt about it. It's just the amount of time being put into it, and I might not be that person that will be able to excel like that, but I give kudos to you that that time you're putting in is being able to be seen not only in the live music but in your writing and everything else that you're doing. That's got to feel really cathartic to know that time being put in is able to be kind of applied all across the spectrum. Speaking of East Coast musicians, I just got this in the mail, which is an instructional DVD from Darren Miller from the band CKY.
Oh, nice.
Well, tell me something else great, man. I need great things this week, so you tell me something great, even though you've already told me so much great things so far.
Well, I mean, one, I guess a great thing tonight. I do have a gig that I'm playing tonight that I'm looking forward to. It's I'm returning back to a brewery that I played back in August, and they have a little tagline. It's like live on the stoop, because we play outside on this little stoop area, and we're playing to a crowd in like the parking lot area outside of the brewery.
Throughout this entire pandemic thing, you've been able to not only stay busy with your podcast, but you've been playing also. And I don't know how, and I'm not trying to steer this into some giant medical or political conversation, but I don't know how Pennsylvania is in regards to COVID and things now. But you have been playing a decent amount. I don't know if that's credit to just playing more covers now, or if things are
I think
open.
because they are cover gigs, and I mean, I'm still not playing as much as I was pre-pandemic.
But you are.
But I am
playing,
playing.
though.
I am
Yeah.
playing, and I'm getting to the point now where I at least know other than the podcast, because that's kind of be getting my mental state at least down to the point where, okay, you at least have something to look forward to every 2 weeks. But now it's to the point where, okay, now I have gigs to look forward to, and that's what really truly makes me happy. Obviously, I love doing the podcast show, but performing is next level thing. Yeah, Pennsylvania, we still, I don't know, it's different every month, every day, not every day now, but like maybe every couple of weeks we'll have a new certain thing, like, oh, you don't have to wear a mask outside, but you still have to wear them inside. If you're vaccinated, you don't have to, but the vaccinated probably should still wear masks. We were going to go to a concert uh, last week, but me and my wife still don't feel comfortable going to big venues around a lot of people, especially since we have a kid. And I felt bad just not going to the show. I wanted to try to sell the tickets. We weren't able to sell the tickets. But as far as me playing gigs, the gigs that I've been playing, I've been pretty distant with people. And I've made it to the point where I can try to be as contactless as possible with people. I mean, if people come up to me, I try to be a little respectful to not have them like face to face contact, but at least have them like a good distance away and not be like, you know, rude and be like, hey, can you step away?
You need
at
caution
least
tape from your two mains just blocking you off.
I've seen people that have like the plexiglass around them in certain venues.
Jeez.
But thankfully I haven't had to worry about that. But like I have a banner that I bought from Vistaprint, and I have a QR code on it, which when you scan the code, it goes into a Linktree link that has tip links, a song menu, and everything. So then, because I used before to just give out song menus, but now I try to do a contactless thing. So if you click on that, you can see my whole song list. And if you want to do a request, you can either look on that, or if you have a song that you have in mind, if I can play it, I'll play it for you. Or if I find something that if I don't know your song, maybe something that's within that same genre or, era. So another good thing to top off of that is, like I was speaking earlier, I am going to put out probably sometime next year. I'm going to compilate an album of my 3 EPs and just put a couple of those songs on there and re-recorded and in my style of play what I do now, because my first EP was all acoustic and vocal. My second was a little bit more of acoustic vocal and some band elements. And then the third one was like a mixture of that too. But now I'd like to do a lot more band elements. So this next album will be, a refresh of you know, my growth as a songwriter, because I feel I can take all of my elements of my songwriting within those 3 albums or EPs and put them into everything that I've learned over these years of songwriting, being a musician, recording and everything, and kind of just see the growth of how I've done, because I've never really made an album of my solo work, and I've always wanted to, and I feel I have enough that I can do that now. And so putting those old songs and then putting in maybe a couple newer songs that I've been, kind of writing throughout the pandemic, but still have one has been like structured out but no lyrics. One is like halfway done, and so just kind of completing those things. So I feel I'll have enough content for music that I can throw out a new song almost every month at that point until I want to release the album. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. It was always a pleasure talking to you, my friend.
For sure. We'll have to touch base here soon. Thank you for taking the call, and I'll have to chop this up and, throw it into this week's episode. But thank you, as always, for touching base and telling me something great. And I hope you have a good time at your gig later on tonight, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I usually live stream my gigs, so, I mean, this will probably be out after I play the gig. But if anybody ever wants to, watch me, they can, go like my Facebook page, Spoken Like Music, and I'm on Instagram. I don't use Twitter too much, but I still promote it every once in a while. And if you guys are interested in podcasts, I do run a podcast called Table Talk. And if you wanted to go watch me and Justin's conversation, it's episode 3. So unfortunately, I don't have the earlier episodes on Podbean and Spotify and Apple Podcasts, but you can still watch it on YouTube. So if you go to Spoken Life, type in Spoken Life on YouTube, you can check it out there. So
yeah, it's an amazing interview. I win Guest of the Year. I'm just kidding. But yeah, in the description, I'll throw all your links in there. We'll throw out merch. I know you got new beanies and other fun stuff. We'll throw out the podcast and all the social media pages and stuff so people can check out, what you're doing.
Man. Sounds good. Appreciate it, man.
Cool. Well, pleasure as always, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Talk to you, brother.
Adios. So I think I got everything all good to go. Nicholas, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Woo! I'm so excited to do this. Thanks for coming on, man, and working out an awesome trade. I've had a interesting week, so this will definitely brighten up the mood.
Yeah, glad I could help you.
So before we get into this, I just want to ask, because I'm really interested, but why moral oral? And for people who don't know, in a previous episode, I told you guys that I came in contact with a younger fan who is showing collector-style searching and is obsessed with this show, and we might be working out a trade, and that's actually what we're doing today. But, again, what got you into the show, man? What is it about this show that you love so much?
Well, honestly, I can't even really pinpoint an exact time period where I actually just got deeper and deeper into it, but I think I watched it when it was on Hulu back in 2019. I was having a really rough time back then. I was just browsing stuff to try to get my spirits up. I'd heard of the show before, but I didn't really want to watch it because I wasn't super big into like religious stuff back then. And everyone was always talking about how it was just like a super religious show and all that. Or like, I didn't really hear about it getting like super dark and all that, like all the other topics. People just told me it was a religious show. So I kind of steered clear of it. But around that time, I found it on Hulu after a while and thought I should just give it a shot because I honestly don't know. I just needed new things to watch back then. Hopefully give new things a chance. Yeah, cannot speak for shit right now. Yeah, I'm not really good at collecting my thoughts.
It's all good, man. So you gave the show a chance and instantly fell in love with it? Or, let me ask, which is the most common question, like, did you watch the first season and you're like, oh, okay, this is sort of campy, maybe I'll stick with it, maybe not? Or did you just love it right from the get-go and you were sold?
Well, on Hulu, they had the episode order wrong, like, you know how Adult Swim aired it?
Yeah.
So at first it didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. So like I still watched the first few episodes, thought it was interesting, wasn't something I got super into at the beginning. But then after a while, because I was still bored around that time, so I was like, you know what? Maybe I should watch more Orel. And I kept doing that. And then as it went on, I got more and more interested in it because the way the story developed and all the characters.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It was just that one show did something different than anything I'd ever seen before.
Well, I always kind of word it like this. I don't know if I have a soft spot for domestic violence or alcoholism or any of the other giant subject matters throughout the show, and I know that a lot of people who are into it, feel the same way about one of those things. But yeah, if the show hooks you with one of those things, you're going to get stuck with it because even in the first season, where it's very episodic and it doesn't seem as deep as later on in the show, you still get these undertones that the humor is coming from a different place and that it's coming from, well, you get just these darker overtones, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
obviously with the plot of the show, you're going to get these dark overtones, but there was just something under that surface, even though at its face value was very shock value, you know what I mean? Even though it was campy, so even though it was dark at the surface, once you got deeper and started to understand why and how and the makeup of the character development and things like that, I think you started to realize that, like, this is way more messed up than it seems to be, but in a way where it's like, I kind of need to know, And I think that might be because Orel has that loving spirit that some people really relate to. Some people just want to see him get destroyed every episode, but, to each their own, I touched on this, but I thought we would just get your response because your response to this is great. And for people who don't know, you are a younger guy and you're not huge into collecting. You haven't even had like employment that would embody the same type of work like style, yet you are digging harder than almost any other fan that I've come in contact with. And I just wanted you to tell me again the story on how you got this item that we're trading today, because I think the story says a lot about maybe what you're doing intuitively, which I've told you before, if you stick with collecting, the way you're thinking about this is way outside the box. And in this day and age, when there's so many different collectors of so many things, you need to do that. And I think that this is a great example. So if you wouldn't mind, let's start off first with explaining like what this item is. So first and foremost, for people who don't know, when William Street had a website and Moral Orel was first released, it came in this bundle pack that was basically the first season DVD in America with a t-shirt, like ziplocked, zip packed, vacuum sealed, whatever the term is, with the DVD. But the shirt was just a white shirt with just some simple writing on it. One of those types of shirts that would get dirty really quick, one of those things that would kind of fall to the wayside. And that's exactly what happened here, because I've been looking for this shirt, and I've been able to find a bunch of really cool Moral Orel shirts, but this shirt is really odd. It doesn't, it's hard to find.
Honestly, I didn't even expect to find it super easily, but what I did, I literally just searched the name of the shirt. And then, so one of the very first results, which again, insane that it happened to be on the first page, it was some random journaling site. I forget the name. I think it was Live Journal or something. But there was a post from someone on there from 2008. So like when the shirt was actually being sold, like it was a completely irrelevant post about something else. But the first thing that post mentioned was that they bought that shirt from the site, from the William Street shop, and that they got a free DVD out of it too. And then they went on to talk about something else, but they did mention that they bought the shirt. And when I saw that, decided to create an account on there and message them to see if they by chance still had it after 10 years. And they did. They sold it to me, and I have it here right now.
Well, what I think's interesting is you're probably using Google as a search engine, and so am I. And I've
Some.
searched the name of that shirt, but I never saw this live journal page. And we all know that like Google does kind of change up depending on what you search and what you're looking for. So it's really odd that you were able to grab that with such ease, and it either floated past me or I wasn't able to see it, or never I never saw the post. It was all news to me when you said that. I was like, whoa. But the fact that you are, I don't know, I find that a lot of people, when they find like older posts or they're digging for something, they just see it, give up, and move on. And the fact that you actually took the time to actually message this dude, it's not only remarkable that he still had it in apparently what's good condition, but the fact that you jumped on there and are, you know, thinking outside the box, like I said, even though it might not seem like it, that's a total score, man. That's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, it was crazy. Surprised they didn't donate it or sold it to someone or just flat out lost it.
It's not like these other Moral Oral shirts that we found. They don't have some really eye-catching graphic. It's just text. So it doesn't surprise me that that shirt didn't live over the test of time. It's just remarkable that that person had it. They must have just thrown it in a drawer and had it sit there, and you know what I mean? Probably forgot they even made that post. And it was just dumb luck, which why I'm so thankful. And what you guys don't know is I've been harassing Nick constantly because Nick is a giant fan. And, part of this collection thing isn't all, how do I say it? Me, 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 me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to look at this as a way where everyone can win. We can all have fun. We can all do stuff together. We can hopefully do stuff like this podcast has done, brought people together, learn more about these shows, explore things. I want to keep pushing this forward. And when Nicholas said he found the shirt, I'm like, dude, who do I have to kill to get this shirt? Like, who do I have to kill? Because I'm trying to do a bigger job with Nick that I'm going to talk about after this podcast, and I'm not telling any of you suckers what it is. But, I had to ask him because this might be the only one that we find. Let me get it from you so I can put it with some of these other ones. Because if you guys have been watching the collection page, you know that this is the only remaining shirt I have. And not only have I been able to collect every other shirt that was produced officially, I've got a handful of bootlegs, and I also have a handful of prototypes sent from Cartoon Network / Adult Swim. So this collection, it's not only finishing the collection, it's finishing the entire collection. So it's important, and what I'm trying to document, it's important to get that all together. But again, I don't want to be me, 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 me. So I've been trying to work out with Nicholas a way that we can help his collection. He can help me out with the shirt, but we can also help his collection so he's not taking a hit back. Because what you guys don't know, and I'm a horrible interviewee. I think it's probably because I've been dealing with depression all week, but wait, I'm the interviewer. Did I say interviewee? It doesn't matter. The coffee's kicking in. Hold on. No, the point being is that when I say that Nicholas is gone above and beyond, he's not like some other collectors that just are pulling out the bucks and will pay the big bucks for some random item that pops up. This kid is searching high and low, and he's one of the only guys, if not the only other guy that I know, that owns some of the harder to find Moral Oral items. So he's collecting his own little collection there too, and I didn't want to take a big item out of there without supplementing it with something, if you guys get what I mean. But Nick's was able to get the complete lessons collection recently. He was able to get the Before Oral CD. And what's the one you're after right now? I know it's one of the ones the same with me. It's a Polish. The German one. The German, yeah. That's the one we're hunting for right now. So
we found them, but the sellers.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like I mentioned that actually in this episode, is that we're finding leads, but every lead is bailing out, and they're just like, they're either saying they want to help and then they ghost us, or they're just completely just non-responsive. But it looks like we have one lead right now, so hopefully we'll see if Nick gets that. before I find another one online and can get this, an actual German seller to sell it. But I digress. So I've been harassing Nick, and he finally has allowed this trade to happen. So I wanted to do it on camera today to not only, talk with Nick, because I've been mentioning him on the podcast, but also talk about his love for Orel and nerd out a little bit. But, I wanted to show you some of the stuff we're trading. So I told him I would cover the cash for the shirt, but as well as I'm throwing in a bunch of other items here. The first item is this Adult Swim, upside down, poster, which is a pretty rare poster. It's got a bunch of the, friendly favorites on here, including Lucy. She's on there. But there's our buddy right there in the corner. We got the infamous, the rare, and a little pricey Kid Robot Orel figure, but it is the one that everyone's always after, which...
That's a $90 one on eBay,
Yeah.
which is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's... Guys, okay, for scale... Hold on, I actually have a tape measure here. But yeah, that's what some of these jokers are selling this for. And I mean, this guy is less than 3 inches tall. Okay. And yeah, $90. There's some snakes out there, but that's why I was able to get it. Hook up my buddy so he doesn't have to get the $90, and he'll have the other Kid Robot figure, which is absolutely hilarious. I still can't believe that this thing actually exists. I mean, what other toy is of a kid holding a crack pipe? And the last item is the hard-to-find Adult Swim tote bag, little bungee on top. Now, I know you guys are probably like, dude, he's got this rare shirt. Look at this crappy little tote bag, right? No. This tote bag is kind of small. Don't get me wrong. It's like a drawstring bag. But this is one of the cooler of the bags that they have. There's 2 bags with Orel. There's the Kid Robot Adult Swim on a box, like camouflage bag. It's actually the same print as the Kid Robot stuff. Nicholas, I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know if the listeners do. But what's cool about this tote bag is that this one was highly sought after because of a few characters that are on here. We got, and forgive my ignorance, we got the main character of the Boondocks right here, which I can't remember his name. We got Ignick Knock somewhere on there, which I can't remember where. But we also have this 12-ounce mouse up here in the corner, which that's what I think a lot of people search this bag for, because 12-ounce mouse collectors are insane, as most of you know. But it does feature our friendly little friend right there, too, in what I think is one of the more cuter renders of him. So I'm going to throw that in there as well, too. Like I said, I'm trying to sweeten up his collection with a few items, little fun things, and in return, hopefully Nicholas can jump on camera here and show what's coming my way. Crazy.
There it is.
So you guys can see how, like, the shirt, how it's, like, astounding that this, not only in great condition, but it actually lived up over time, I almost want you to, like, re-message the guy just to ask him, like, did you just have this in a drawer?
And even on top of that, like normally, you know how, like yeah, this thing's been sitting there for 13 years. Normally, just plain white shirts, you know how they get all like yellowy after a while. Even then, like you can still see a little bit of that on here, but it's not super noticeable.
Like the
it's
shirt,
not,
the shirt doesn't smell, right?
No.
I'm so curious on how this dude was able to like live up the test of time. Not only, because it's interesting, but also that might help us like maybe find another one. You know what I mean?
I'm hoping we can get another one because these things are so hard to find.
Nick, I just want to say thank you again for chiming in and saying hey and explaining a little bit of your background and this hilarious story and how you found this shirt. And thank you so much for doing this deal, because you have helped me solidify this for a much bigger project, and it's amazing. So what I'm going to do is tell you to message me all your info. I will get this all packaged up, and since it's Sunday, I'll ship it out tomorrow, and we'll get this all, taken care of. So thank you so much, man. Seriously.
You're welcome. Glad I could help you out with this trade and get you the shirt.
For sure, man.
I know you've been looking for it forever.
Hell yeah. Well, as I've mentioned before, this is definitely not the last time that we're going to speak. And, we're both hunting every day and we're both making more and more leads. And we both know that this show was bastardized in almost every single regard. And it's going to be difficult, but we're going to be able to keep finding you more and keep growing together. And I'm glad to have made a new buddy, a new friend, and pursuing this one specific show. And yeah, man, just thank you again. And, hopefully we'll talk again soon.
For sure.
All right, man, have a good one. Adios.
You too. See you.
Okay, so now it's time to dive into fan questions this week, and I've got my handy dandy question transition jingle thanks to mega fan Edwin. Here we go. It's time for questions. You guys ready? Yeah. It's time for some fan questions. Yeah. I love it. It's so silly. Do. All right, here we go. Questions for this week. I got a few of them from the internet. Let's dive into them. Got a question here from my buddy Mooney. He says, what's your favorite part of living in California? And what do you miss most about Illinois? Well, those are pretty simple questions to answer. The best part about California is definitely the weather. The weather was so impactful to my body in Chicago that I couldn't handle it. And being here is very delightful. To almost not have to worry about radical change in temperature has been a blessing. And my body has acclimated to it, and it's great. There's a lot of things I don't like about California. But in many ways, it's just like every place else. It's nothing spectacular. What do I miss most about Illinois? My family. That's the biggest thing, no doubt about it, buddy. My buddy Pat asked, why did you move to California? I get moving out of state. I'm a big fan of it, and I think leaving your hometown is essential. But why did you? It was a combination of things. I was kind of going crazy where I was living because I was living by myself for a while and spending a lot of time in isolation, but I was also in an unbelievable amount of pain for about a year and a half straight, and it wouldn't stop, and it was maddening, and I couldn't sleep at night, and I couldn't focus, and I was going to doctor after doctor after specialist after specialist, and I've said it before, Illinois healthcare failed me in a lot of ways, and the solutions that they gave to me were garbage, and I took it upon myself to control the situation as much as I could because I was the only person looking out for myself. So relocating to a place where weather was consistent, relocating to a place where I had a place to go, with some people that I knew was important, but also breaking away from a few different toxic relationships and a few things that have accumulated over time while I was in Illinois. I just needed to stop and do something different and try something new. And I've been doing that for a long time now. And I think it is essential for people to grow, to get away from their hometown and have different experiences, no doubt. And I did that before I moved to California. I've stayed time in many places around the country, but moving here was definitely about health, growth, acceptance, and change. And it's been a struggle, but it's been a welcomed one. And I'm really glad I did it. My buddy Jake asks, what keeps you motivated to continue to create? And do you ever feel like it causes you more pain than pleasure? If so, how do you continue to push through those thoughts? Well, the enjoyment that I get from performing and creating music is like a drug to me. It's a really awesome thing. And what I get from it is almost indescribable. And that in itself motivates me to want to create and challenge myself to be a better musician. But, your second part, do you ever feel like it causes more pain? Well, yes, because I use music in a therapeutic way and I speak about things that are difficult. So having to perform those songs, it puts me in a in a pretty dark place, but that's the point. And it is difficult, but I think that it's necessary. And that brings me to the last point of your question is, if so, how do you continue to push through those thoughts? This is going to sound funny, but I think it's a good example. You ever seen those crappy daytime television talk shows? I believe the one I'm thinking of is Maury. What is it? Maury Povich, the Maury Show. You know, he is not the father. He he used to do these episodes, and so did some of these other people. Side note, if you don't know the story behind what ended the Jenny Jones talk show, Google that. That'll be your interesting story of the day. Regardless, so on the Maury Show, they would have people who are like deathly afraid of spiders or mothballs come onto the show, and they would put spiders all over them or dump a bucket of mothballs on them. And shock therapy, which is, I believe, is what they're doing, I think has benefits to it. But I also think that it is pretty brutal, and not everyone can handle that. It's the metaphor of, you need to walk before you run. You need to, learn how to swim. You don't just jump into the deep end. But I find that for myself, there's lessons in this life that I don't learn easily, and I need to jump into the deep end. And for me to be able to face some of the issues that I have, I need to face them head on. And I've been dancing around them for a long time, and those have their own problems that will happen. I find that it's very important for my mental growth to face the things that haunt me and face the things that are difficult, to challenge myself to evolve and to become a better person. And, it's hard for me to speak to people. It's hard for me to perform. It's hard for me to express my thoughts and feelings. So that's what I do for a living. And it helps. And it's necessary for me to push through these things because of what it does for me as an individual. And it's helped me so much that it's hard to put into words, but it is worth the process. It's worth eating less. It's worth not having a retirement plan. It's worth a lot. Jake also asks, how do you spend time with someone when you know it's the last time you'll see them? That is a super heavy question, my friend. And that's a luxury that not many people have. And I think I'll probably start with that. The good old days happen right in front of our eyes. And usually we don't know it's happening until it's past. And being present in the moment can help you really take in what's going on around you. And if you have the opportunity to spend time with someone and you know it's going to be the last time, that's I think, a very beautiful thing. And you could spend that time focusing on what the future will bring, or you can focus on the present and make the most of that time. I spoke to Jake about this text, and I sent him a message, and I told him a story about my grandmother. And one of my grandmothers had cancer, and she knew she was going to pass. It was only a matter of time. And she lived in Florida while her, 16 grandchildren or something lived in Illinois. And I believe it was like the last 2 years she was alive while she was battling cancer and going through chemo, she flew all of her grandchildren down to see her. And it didn't matter what age they were. She made it a point to spend that time because it would be the last time. She couldn't travel. It would be the last time we could see her, and she knew it, so she tried to take advantage of it. And at the time, I was really young, but I remember it vividly because I was on a plane by myself for the first time. And back then, being on a plane was a big deal, let alone being on a plane by yourself. And I knew why I was going there because I knew she had cancer. But at that time, death was familiar to me, but I wasn't comfortable with it, and I didn't have enough time to really internalize what death is. So the time seemed to go by very quick, and I remember acting like a kid a lot during the trip. And looking back on it now, I, of course, wish I hadn't and took more advantage of that time. But I think when you know it's the last time you're going to speak to them, those times are very special. And even at a younger age, when I couldn't comprehend it all and I'd still act immature, I knew that that was going on, and I cherished it then. And I remember thinking about cherishing it and thinking about the impact of that back then, even though it just didn't sit on me as heavy as it does now. But now I very much cherish that time, and I look back on it and thinking that that was wonderful, and it was wonderful for her to do that, and it was a blessing that I was able to spend that time with her, even if it was the last time I would see her. It helped me understand death. It helped me accept it a lot more. It taught me a lot about her as a woman and as an individual, and it taught me a great deal. And Jake, I know you have been going through some similar stuff yourself, and I hope that you can take advantage of the time you have and try to focus on the love that you do have and the person that means a lot to you, instead of focusing on the loss that might bring. You know, death is very much a part of life, and though it may be hard to see, it is a beautiful thing. And it's part of the human experience. So I hope that answers your question and gives you a little bit of insight, as well as I hope it gives you something to put a little pep in your step. And let me know how you're doing. Send me an email or something, buddy. Someone asked, what's my biggest pet peeves? Probably being completely disrespected, not listened to, cut off mid-sentence, listening to people complain about things that have absolutely no relevance, and I'm to blame for that too. I really like that new Bo Burnham joke where he's like, can anyone just shut the fuck up for like, I don't know, an hour? And that's me too. Sometimes, I don't know, less is more. All right, we got one final question here from Instagram. It says, how have you kept going? Ever feel like giving up on both the music industry and collecting? Well, yeah, all the time. I hire and fire myself every day, which that's not my quote. Trust me. It's a struggle. Collecting is something I just got into and something that I'd like to build more and more on. So I don't think I'm going to be stopping that anytime soon. I'm really getting a lot of enjoyment out of that. Music, it's, well, to be honest with you, like I have no interest in the music industry. Maybe film and television and how music is incorporated into those, but I have no interest at all in the music industry, and I never really have. It's a glorified bank of snakes that take advantage of the people that are there, and I've seen enough record contracts that it's laughable. And I know that there are some good people out there who do help bands, and they want to do good, and they want to run a business, and they want to work with other people who run, you know, a well-oiled machine. But that's a minority, and that's not, you know, an opinion. That's public knowledge and has been for a long time. So, you know, I mentioned it when I was talking with Anthony earlier in the podcast. You know, choosing to be an outlaw and doing my own thing has been something that I decided to do a long time ago, and that will fill you with crippling self-doubt. It'll fill you with hurdles that are just ridiculous. And it'll definitely pull on your patience and your ability to stay driven. And with so much influence in the music industry and social media and everything else, there's just so many hurdles that contribute to one's want to just say fuck it. And I completely understand it. In a lot of ways, I feel that way. right now I'm trying to juggle how in the world I'm going to release this new music, and influences of all this stuff affect me. Even if I don't want anything to do with the music industry's hold on the general public influence how the general public, takes in art, music. And that also affects how people, perceive myself and what I do. So as much as I try to stay away from these things, they definitely affect my day to day. And why do I keep going? Well, I keep going for a lot of reasons. And, we spoke about this. I spoke about this before in a previous podcast about why I do this, which I would encourage you to go back and listen to some of the previous episodes. A huge thing that keeps me going is, it's really hard to write up a resume where you have like a lapse in work for a very long time. That's always a big one. This is what I've done. It's what I've always done. And struggling or not, it's what I've chosen to do with this life. And that'll change eventually. But, as of right now, I don't see a lot of these things as hurdles. I mean, I see them as problems. I see them as fixable. It just takes time and effort, and it takes supportive people like the people who are listening to this. And that is the only way that I can keep going. My will drive me until I'm not able to move anymore. But the support of others is a huge element too that should definitely be mentioned. And it's not just, a like online or buying a CD or a t-shirt. The influence that people get from the little music that I've put out there is, like I've said, indescribable. And their words and their encouragement and their support, those are the things that keep me going more than anything else. So I hope that answers your question. And again, I encourage you to check back on some of the other previous solo podcasts. I asked myself the question, what does success mean to me and why do I do this? And I think you'll get a kick out of the answers. Being 100% truthful, I don't know what episode it is. So go back and listen to them all. I hope that answered your question, though. I think that is pretty much it for today, guys. Well, thanks as always for listening, guys. Make sure to send questions, topics, advice, suggestions to the email. The email is thetellmesomething.great@gmail.com. Remember, go out there and make it great. Find something great, because the world is a beautiful place. So go out there and have a great week. Make it great. Find something great. Tell me something great. I look forward to hearing from you guys. Thanks as always for listening, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye, bye, bye. Bye, 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 bye.
That's great.